The official Ahsoka trailer came out earlier this week, and it got my gears turning on an interesting idea that first popped up almost 3 years ago in The Mandalorian Season 2 regarding Morgan Elsbeth. There was speculation that she might be a Nightsister, and one shot in the new trailer caught my eye, so today we're going to talk about that possibility, how likely it might be, and what it could mean for the character and the series. The shot in question is when she is seen activating some sort of map in the middle of a bunch of obelisks or ruins or something. She's using her hand in a way that is reminiscent of a Force user, but at the very bottom of the image, you can see a flicker of green flame, and that is almost always connected to the use of magic in Star Wars. That's magic with a K, which is an aspect of the Force associated with the witches of Dathomir. It's as old as the witches themselves, first introduced in the Legends book, The Courtship of Princess Leia. But the Clone Wars brought their sect and their unique use of the Force to more prominence. It's largely connected to the dark side of the Force, but I would argue that the book Battle Scars shows that, just like the Force itself, there is a light and dark side to it. The flame is a small and, I'll even admit, flimsy connection to the Nightsisters, but there is more to link Elsbeth to the witches. First, her red garb is similar to the colors worn by the Nightsisters in the Clone Wars, but the real juicy hint comes from behind the scenes. Back when The Mandalorian Season 2 was airing, a member of the crew described Elsbeth as one of the last survivors of Dathomir. If you've watched the Clone Wars or played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, you'll know that the Nightsisters were massacred by General Grievous and his droid army. There were a handful of survivors, and it would appear that Elsbeth might be one of them. But doesn't she look a little different? Merrin, Asajj Ventress, Mother Talzin, the Nightsisters we've met so far all have very white skin. Why does Elsbeth look different? There are a couple potential reasons for that. First, she's a magic user. She could change her appearance to hide her Dathomirian origins. As one of only a few survivors, she might want to keep that a secret. But also, we have seen that there are different tribes of witches from Dathomir. Deathstick is a surviving Nightsister from comics and video games, and her face is often hidden, but her complexion doesn't look as pale as most of her sisters. There's also a short story called Bug that introduced a witch named Falta who belonged to no specific clan. She had a daughter named Yenna who escaped the Dathomirian massacre, and that story was written by E. Ann Convery, the wife of Dave Filoni. So if I want to get my tinfoil hat out, Yenna might be Morgan Elsbeth. I doubt it, but the connections are interesting. All that to simply say that not all Dathomirian witches are Nightsisters, and not all Nightsisters look the same. With all the various connections the Ahsoka series has back to Star Wars animation, I will not be surprised at all if Elsbeth does turn out to be a Nightsister or witch of some kind. But why would she be working for Thrawn, the heir to the Empire? Every other Nightsister we've seen is understandably out for revenge against the Empire, since Mother Talzin knew the truth of who was really behind the Clone Wars and the death of her people. Maybe Thrawn is offering her something? I think it's interesting that he might potentially be working alongside a Force user, because it makes sense that he would be interested in learning more about the Force. His two major losses in Star Wars Rebels came down to the Force, a power he knew about but didn't fully understand. Brilliant tactician that he is, he would want to learn more and remove that knowledge gap, so maybe he's teaming up with witches, inquisitors, and more to try to ensure that will never happen again. Thrawn is a different kind of leader than the Sith, so he might be making promises to Elsbeth to help out the remaining Nightsisters. He wouldn't view them as rivals to his own power in the Force the way Sidious did. He'd probably be more willing to make the Nightsisters his allies. And literally, as I was writing this, I had an idea, but if you've never read the original Legends Thrawn trilogy of books, I want to throw out a spoiler warning. I'm definitely entering tinfoil hat territory again, but since it seems likely the Mandoverse might adapt some aspects of those stories, it's very possible that even if what I'm about to say is completely wrong, you still might not want to know how those books end. Okay, so if you're still here, in the Legends version of the story, Thrawn has a bodyguard named Rook. He was a Nogri from a planet that was devastated by the Empire, but the Nogri didn't know that and agreed to serve the Empire, and in return, they would heal their world, which they dragged their feet on to keep the Nogri subservient. Over the course of the story, Rook learns the truth, and he is the one to kill Thrawn in the end. But Rook was in Star Wars Rebels, and he died, so that story can't play out in the same way. But we do have another culture that was nearly wiped out by separatists, but they were secretly under orders from Palpatine and therefore the Empire. So maybe Elsbeth could replace Rook in some ways. Thrawn could tell her some lie about helping her seek justice for her people. Maybe she doesn't know the truth, but finds out over the course of the story, and then she is the one to betray and murder Thrawn. I'm making huge jumps here, probably all the way to Filoni's movie that's years away at this point. I'm probably way off on my speculation, but it is interesting interesting that Rook and Elsbeth have kind of a similar story if she is a Nightsister. It's something to keep an eye on. But what do you think? Is Morgan Elsbeth a Nightsister or a Witch of Dathomir, or does she just have a cool lighter that makes green flames? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Ahsoka coverage, follow us on TikTok, Threads, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.